Hello, my name is David Hale. I'm an enrollment coach here at San Antonio College.
Hello, my name is Harley Williams, and I'm an enrollment team support specialist here at San Antonio College.
Today we're going to be going over how to fill out your application on ApplyTexas.
All right, awesome. So our very first step is we're going to go to applytexas.org. So let's go to that right now. All right, so once on ApplyTexas, if this is your first time creating an account, you're just going to go right here and say create an account. So you'll need to create a little profile. So you'll need to go through and enter your information. And then you're going to need to enter your email address. It's really important to use an email address that you have access to. So maybe don't use parents' email. Don't use a school email. So if you have in any of your high schools, you have a school email, don't use that because you're not going to have access to that later. So use a good email that you have access to. At the very end, it's even going to ask you to verify your email. So you do have to answer your email at the end of the application. And then you will create a little password. And then you do need to confirm your password. I would recommend writing this down. You can reset your password, but we still recommend writing it down. And then you just go ahead and you're going to click on Save Profile. You do have to create a profile. Your profile is not your application. So make sure after you've created your profile, you go to My Applications. Then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new application. So we want to come to SAC. So that is going to be a 2-year school. So we're going to create a 2-year application. And then we're going to search for SAC. So we're just going to click this and then we're going to click on S 3 times. And there we are, San Antonio College. And then we want to know when we want to come to school. So right now we have summer and fall. So I'm just going to go ahead and submit a summer application. The regular deadline is usually the best. So we're just going to click on that one. It wants to know what our major is. So this is kind of a pre-major question. So it kind of wants to know what major you're going to go under. So David, what major should I apply as? Do I want to apply as liberal arts?
Yeah, let's just do liberal arts.
Do creative and communicative. We're going to test this out. Now we're going to look for liberal arts. Let's see. And it's right there. But if you guys mess up and you're like, hey, I don't see, not mess up. If you click on one and you're like, my major isn't here, that's okay because you just go back. So yeah, you just click on that little thing and then you can always look for another one. So you're like, okay, well, let me see if it's under, public service or kind of figure out where that would fall under. So we're going to go back and we're going to go to creative communicative. So we can say liberal arts. All right. So now you're just going to need to enter some specific information. You do have to enter your social security number. Technically, you can bypass this part. However, we don't recommend it. It can mess up your financial aid. It can later down the road create problems. So we do recommend entering your social security number. If you're completing this application with your high school counselor and you don't have your social, that's okay. I would recommend continuing with the application and just saving it and putting your social in later. But technically you can bypass it, but we don't recommend that, especially if you're on financial aid. So you just need to enter your information. You'll need to enter your date of birth. If you've ever had any last names, different last names, different first names, this is where you'd enter that. It's really important to do this, especially if we notice a lot with our college transfers. They'll send in their college transcripts, but it has a different last name than what they're currently using. So we can just verify in our system, be like, oh yes, this is the same student because they've gone by previous last names. And so you'll just go ahead and go on and filling that information out. You'll answer some of these questions. We do get a lot of questions about number 17. At any time were you in a Texas conservatorship? Basically, what that means is if you were ever in foster care at any point. So that's kind of what that question means. So we're just going to go ahead and save changes. Alrighty. So now what we do is we're just going to go ahead and say, yes, everything is saved correctly. And then we go on through our application. All right, so now we're at the finding school information. So what we're going to do, we're not going to enter into this box. This box is not going to help you find your school. So what we're going to do is first we're going to click on this blue one. So we're going to do find school. Now that we've done that, you can see it's auto-filled that information. So you just need to kind of enter a graduation date. If you guys are going to graduate in the future, just put your expected graduation date, which is usually June for most graduations. If you've already graduated, you can just go ahead and put that information. So you just enter that information, and then it's going to ask you if you're homeschooled. So if you are, you'd say yes. If you aren't, obviously you'd say no. Then it's going to ask you if you've completed a GED. So if you have not, you're just going to say not applicable, or you can say no. And if you have completed a GED, that's where you're going to put this information in. All right, and then we get to the part with college and universities. So if you are a transfer student, this is where you would enter this information. If you've come to the San Antonio colleges or any of the other Alamo colleges, so if you've gone to SAC, St. Philip's, Palo Alto, those colleges, you don't have to enter. Technically, you won't have to enter this. But if you've gone to any other colleges, so say you went to UTSA, you went to Texas Tech, even colleges outside of Texas, this is where you would need to enter that information. If you have not gone to any colleges, that's okay. You can go ahead and leave this part blank. And then you're going to be asked, are you on current academic suspension? So you just have to answer that. And then we're going to go ahead and save it. All right, awesome. So now it goes on and asks if we're in a tech program. If you haven't gone to any technical schools, you'd say no. So generally, technical schools are like, for an example, like auto repair, AC, things like that. They're very specific tech colleges. So if you haven't done any of those, you'd say no. If you are graduating from high school, you would just hit high school graduate, which is right here. So you just say that you're a high school graduate. And you just kind of select wherever you really are. If you did a GED program, that's where you'd say GED. And then if you're a college transfer, you'd say college transfer. If you've already attended SAC and you're reapplying, you're readmissioned. And then we also have transient. So what transient means, it's kind of like a temporary thing. So say you only want to be with SAC for one semester because you want to then go to another university. That's transient. So you would select which best applies. So we're gonna say we're readmission for this sake. And then it wants to know why you want to attend. So do you want to earn a 2-year? And you'd say what applies best to you. Do you want to get a job, help take classes for a job? Really, there's not a wrong answer on this. It's just what you think best applies for you. All right. And then it's going to ask you, during the 12 months prior, did you attend a public university? So it's just going to depend on if you're graduating from high school, if you've already, like if you're transfer, so you'll just select which one best applies for you. And then it's going to ask you, this is for your residency. So residency is going to affect your tuition rates. So it wants to know if you're a Texas resident and then if you're in district. So that's where you're going to put this one. It's asking, have you lived in Texas 36 months consecutive, so continuously, before you completed high school or graduation? If you lived out of state and you're applying, then you would say no. But if you've lived in state, then you would say yes. And then at the beginning of the semester, you have lived in Texas for 12 months. All right, so it's reviewing the questions that you'd said. So you're just going to go ahead and save and continue. And then this question is asking if you plan to take only online classes online. So we're going to say no, because we want to come to SAC. So if you say yes to this, like I said, we're not going to tell you, no, you can't come on SAC because you've already said you want to take only online. That's not how it's going to be. So we're going to go ahead and hit save and acknowledge. All right. And then have you been accepted into an early high school? This is usually no. If you're early high school, that means you're taking high school and college classes simultaneously. And this doesn't mean dual credit. So if you're in an early high school, you would know. So most of the time it's usually no. And then are you a current high school senior? A lot of our students are, a lot of our students aren't. It's about 50-50. So we're going to say specifically, I'm going to say no, but most of you students might say yes. And then it's asking, did we apply for a school like any of the other Alamo colleges? And then now it wants to know, are the Alamo colleges your first choice? I think we're a great first choice. I think community college is a great place for a lot of students to start or even come to after a 4-year university. So I'm going to say yes. And honestly, we're almost done with the application. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty painless. So we're just going to go ahead and save and complete. All right, so now we just have to agree to this stuff here real quick. So if you guys want to go ahead and read about that, you can. I've already read some of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that I do agree. Now we're just going to go ahead and hit save and proceed. All right, and then once we click on this, we cannot make any changes. So we do run into a few students who are like, oh, I submitted my application, but this is different. They can't make changes. Once you submit your ApplyTexas application, you can't make your changes. However, in our system, we can make changes later down the road. So we can do that. But once you've already done your application, you won't be able to go back on that and submit changes. And then once you do that, you're just going to go ahead and submit your application. Yeah, but we want to make sure that it's done so we can find that out. So it does say that it's done. So now we're going to go ahead and hit go to application. So now we can see on our application, we have all of our information and our status. This is important to look at. Status, it says submitted. So a lot of times students think they go through the process, then they contact us later and they haven't submitted their application yet. It's saved on a certain page. So you want to make sure that your status is submitted. Also, you guys can see my essays up here. You don't have to worry about that. Our application for San Antonio College does not require an essay. That's really kind of for those 4-year universities, because ApplyTexas is what you're going to use for any school in the entire state of Texas. The application does take around 3 to 5 days to download. You should be receiving an email that's saying, congratulations, you guys have been accepted. You'll get your banner ID, which is really important because that's your student ID and all that good stuff. Some reason students don't always get that email. So after 5 days, if you haven't heard from us, reach out to us. We're very easy to communicate. So just reach out to us and say, hey, I've submitted my application. I haven't heard anything. And then we'll be able to help you from there.
Well, that's going to go ahead and conclude it for this video. Like I said, thank you for stopping by. We hope you get those applications in, like Harley said, as soon as possible. And we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.